What I'm going to tell you is the best known story in the Southwest. Not just the best known ghost story, but the best known story. Anywhere you go in Texas or Arizona, New Mexico, California, or southern Colorado, anywhere in Mexico or Central America, they know about La Llorona. It means the crying woman, the weeping woman. La Llorona, of course, everywhere you go, they will tell you a different story. And whoever you talk to will swear that that story happened right there where they are, not someplace far off. Well, there is no one truth about La Llorona and where her story began. People agree it started a long time ago in a very small town with a very beautiful woman. The Weeping Woman, told by Joe Hayes. Long years ago, in a humble little village, there lived a fine-looking girl named Maria. Some say she was the most beautiful girl in the world. And because she was so beautiful, Maria thought she was better than everyone else. As Maria grew older, her beauty increased, and her pride in her beauty grew too. When she was a young woman, she would not even look at young men in her village. They were not good enough for her. When I marry, Maria said, I will marry the most handsome man in the world. And then one day, into Maria's village rode a man who seemed to be just the one she had been talking about. He was dashing and young and oh so handsome and wealthy. He was a ranchero from the southern plains. He could ride like a Comanche. In fact, he owned a horse. And when it would get too tame, he would sell it or give it away, go out into the plains, and catch a wild horse. He thought it wasn't manly to ride a horse if it was too tame. He was so handsome, and he could play the guitar, and he sang beautifully. Maria made up her mind that was the man she was going to marry. She knew just the way to win his attention. If the ranchero spoke when they met in the pathway, she would turn her head away. When he came to her house in the evenings to play his guitar and serenade her, she wouldn't even come to the window. She refused all his costly gifts. The young man fell for her tricks. That haughty girl, Maria, he said to himself, I know I can win her. And I swear I will marry Maria. And so everything turned out just as Maria had wanted. Before long, she and the ranchero became engaged. Soon they were married, and they had children, and they seemed like a happy family. But after a few years, the ranchero went back to his old ways. He would leave town and be gone for months at a time, and when he returned home, it was only to visit his children. He seemed to care nothing for the beautiful Maria. He even talked of setting Maria aside and marrying a woman of a wealthy class. As proud as Maria was, of course she became angry. She also began to feel anger toward her children because he paid them attention and none to her. One evening, as Maria was strolling with her two children on the shady pathway near the river, the ranchero came by. An elegant lady sat in the carriage next to him. He stopped and spoke with his children, but he did not even look at Maria. He whipped the horses up the street and was gone. When she saw that, a terrible rage filled Maria, and it all turned against her children. And although I am sad to tell you, the story says that in her anger, Maria seized her children and she threw them into the river. But as they disappeared down the stream, she realized what a terrible thing she had done. She ran down the riverbank, reaching out her arms to them, but they were gone. The next morning, a traveler brought word to the villagers that a beautiful woman lay dead on the riverbank. That is where they found Maria, and that is where they lay her to rest. But that first night that Maria was in the grave, the villagers heard the sound of her crying down by the river. It was not the wind, it was La Llorona, the weeping willow woman. Where are my children? And they saw a woman walking up and down the bank of the river, dressed in a long robe, the way they had dressed Maria for her burial. On many a dark night, they saw her walk the riverbank and cry for her children. And so, they no longer spoke of her as Maria. They called her La Llorona, the weeping woman. And by that name she is known to this day. Children are warned not to go out at night, to stay in after dark, for La Llorona might snatch them and never return them.